Hey guys, Justin here from Patriot Campers. Now, I'm traveling through America at the moment and I've just done about 5,000 miles with the new PX3 Ford Ranger, and right now we're in Colorado. Now I've spent just on 2 weeks with this truck now, and I want to give a bit of a run through about my thoughts on the new PX3 Ranger. Now the PX3 Ranger is brand new to the United States. It's the #1 selling dual cab utility in Australia at the moment. Obviously in Australia we get the diesel, the 3.2 litre diesel, and this one here is running the 2.3 litre gas, or petrol engine as we call it in Australia. This is the only variation that Ford have got here in the United States at this point in time. There's a lot of things going on here with emissions with diesel, so I'm not sure the real reason why they only offer the petrol motor or the gas motor, but it seems like here in the United States petrol is a thing. You know, for overlanding cars and touring cars, they really don't have any issues with petrol or gas engines like we do back in Australia. We love our diesels back in Australia when it comes to overlanding vehicles. So the first thing I'll probably run you through is what I've found with it as far as the engine goes. Now let's have a look underneath the hood. Like I said before, this is a 2.3 litre petrol motor. This is what they call an EcoBoost motor. Now, a couple of stats. I'll give you a few stats. Now, if you follow Patriot Campers or Patriot Games, you'll know Sarah was driving a Ranger up in Arnhem Land. And I'll get to in a minute why I built a Ranger over here in the United States. Now, with this one here, the first thing I noticed when I picked it up straight out of Oklahoma was the power that this thing makes. It is awesome. It makes really, really good power. Now the American models come in at 209 kilowatts. The Australian diesel version comes in at 157 kilowatts. So power wise, this thing makes about 25% more power. And like I said, it's extremely noticeable. This thing really gets up and goes. The big one is for us though, obviously towing, and for an overlanding or touring vehicle, I normally look at torque. Now I'll do this in Newton meters. In America they run in foot pounds. But in Newton meters, back in Australia, the diesel makes 470 Newton meters. I could be wrong on that, but I think that's correct. This one here makes 420 Newton meters. So really the diesel version only makes 10% more torque, and I didn't notice it. So from Sarah's Ranger, towing an X2 and towing an X2 on this, I really don't notice the difference in pulling. So I would definitely say, if I had my choice between the diesel and the petrol, straight out of performance and power, I would take this over a diesel any day of the week. The downside of the petrol is it does chew a little bit more fuel. These things here, they're quoting, I read on the website before we bought it, it was about 20 miles per gallon, which equates to 11 litres per 100, and I did the math on that before. The diesel version in Australia, they quote 9 litres per 100. So it's not that big a difference really, but you do notice it when you're towing. Now we're running straight off the dash, off the computer of the dash. We've been averaging on this trip on the 5,000 miles, and most of it's been 85 miles an hour on the highway, which is, I think it's close to 130 kilometers an hour. So we're really getting up the thing. We've been averaging somewhere around 15, 16 miles per gallon. So they do drink a little bit more fuel than the diesel. There's no two ways about it. But realistically, I don't think it's any different to any other petrol car. Really big part of this as well though, this has got a 10-speed auto in it, and the 10-speed is amazing. You can't even feel the thing shift. It is a really, really good bit of kit. The 6-speed in the diesel Ranger, personally, I don't like it, and don't hate on me for that. I don't like it. And I never liked it when I drove Sarah's car, drove her Ranger, and I took it for a little bit up in Arnhem Land, or even driving it around town. I feel like that auto is really clunky. I don't think the converter's perfectly matched. It's just not a nice auto to me anyway. The 10-speed in this is amazing. Now all of that rock crawling that we were doing down in Moab, we took this thing over Hell's Revenge. The first range low is very, very, very low in this, but we had Matt's Jeep in front of us, his JL Jeep, which is a Rubicon, and that's got a 4-to-1 reduction in it. And me and Ronnie had a bit of a competition down a hill where we both put into first, and we got off the brakes, and I caught him real quick. So it doesn't have that super low that you get out of a Jeep, but honestly the performance of this thing, I really like it. I really, really like it. We'll start at the front and we'll work our way back. The only bull bar that I could find in the United States to suit the Ranger because it was so new when we bought it. We bought this truck 4 or 5 weeks ago. They'd just been released. Is the ADD bar. I tried everywhere to get a winch bar. I really don't like the fact that I don't have a front winch in this. Obviously I haven't used it in this trip. We've mounted in a 900mm X-ray quad optic light bar. You can see on one side we've got pencil, the other side we've got spread. Got massive recovery hooks at the front and the skid plate too. Now the look of the bar, I actually really love it. It's not my style, it's not the type of bar that I'd put on back in Australia, but I'm really happy with the bar and I'm happy with the look of it. All of the front sensors are in there. I think that they do have a winch bar coming out, but they couldn't get one ready in time, but I'm sure by the time this video gets launched, or even by the time you watch this video, there's going to be plenty of bars available for it. Being the PX3, it's wider in the front than the PX2 that we get back in Australia. So none of the standard bars that we would typically use fit on this particular vehicle. So I'm looking forward to seeing the type of products that come around. Now we also picked blue for this build. This is not a typical color. We enter our blacks and our whites and sometimes the graphites. The blue is awesome. I absolutely love it. Love it or hate it, that is the color that we got. We matched it up to the X2 that we had down the back. The X2 that we have on the back of this truck is actually the X2 that we launched Patriot Games here into the United States with, and we launched Patriot Campers. So that one has been over here for about 3 years. It's become a little bit of a beat up trailer. We've lent it out to some of our good friends. Tony at Rhino Racks had it for a while. Clay at Expedition Overland, he toured around with that one for a little bit. So we had a blue trailer here and it kind of made sense. Get a blue truck, we'll match it up, and the whole program looks really good. Let's walk around the side. We've got fitted to this the 16-inch PCOR wheels. Now they're a 0 offset wheel. Typically in Australia you wouldn't get away with fitting these to a Ford Ranger. They're a 6-on-139 stud pattern because they hang out the sides of the guards. Here in the United States, that's not a problem, and especially where we got the vehicle registered. We've got 33-inch Mickey Thompson ATZs, and we put these down to about 12 pounds over that slick rock in Moab, and it was just the performance of this thing was, it blew us all away. We had the big 2500 Ram out there, twin locked on 37s, JL Jeep on 37s, and then a leaf sprung standard suspension Ford Ranger, and this thing went absolutely everywhere that the other vehicles went. Touching on the suspension while we're down here, this has just got 3-inch spacer blocks in it. In Australia, again, completely illegal, not allowed to do it. There was nobody at this point in time that had a suspension kit ready to be fitted to this vehicle. We were working with Icon. We just missed out on getting the Icon kit fitted before we went out to Overland Expo East. So that might be one of the modifications, and when the car gets back into Oklahoma, we'll get that kit out. That's got machined upper and lower control arms, obviously remote reservoir shocks as well, so I'm looking forward to that. But once again, like I said, just with the 3-inch spacer kit, the performance of this thing was really unbelievable. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that when we get down the back. Coming up the side, we've just got the PCOR decals on the side, hardly worth talking about. We've got the ADD rock sliders as well. Now the rock sliders, that was another product that was the only ones that we could find. They were the only side steps that we could find available for the Ranger at the time. They look really cool, all dimple dyed, laser cut, tube. We didn't touch one out in Moab though. We did not touch a rock slider. We hit the front bar I think twice, and we hit the toe hitch at the back probably 5 or 6 times as we're coming down to some of those drop downs. But that was about it. Up on the roof, of course, what else would you put up there? Rhino Pioneer platform, Tony at Rhino USA, one of my good buddies here now. He's helped me out since the launch of Patriot out here into the United States and now PCOR. He hooked me up with the Pioneer platform, backbone on there, and also the Batwing awning. Awning came in really handy. We had lunch out under there one day while we were out on the tracks. It started raining, but the Pioneer platform, I've said it in 100 other videos, it's not just the platform that gets me about the Rhino Racks products, it's all of the accessories that you can get with it. You can mount pretty much anything that you want when it comes to touring onto a Rhino platform. Up the top of this one, we got a set of Max Tracks, thanks to Matt from Max Tracks USA for sorting them out for me. We've got the Rhino Max Tracks holders. And look, like I said with the Pioneer platform, they're so diverse. If you haven't seen one, check them out. This one bolted straight on, but this is a rivet through model, so you've got to take the hood lining out of the truck, rivet the tracks in, and then you can put the legs on or a backbone and mount up there whatever you like. Check them out, Rhino product. Another great Australian company as well, I might add, which is great. Coming down to the back, the business end. the PCOR tray. Now, we couldn't get any CAD of this tray before we sent it, of the chassis, sorry, before we sent it over. Every PCOR body is custom made for the vehicle that we fit them out with. So you can see, coming around back around this side here, you can see the way the PCOR bed matches the body line of the trucks, and that's something that's really important to us. When you go and spend this sort of money and you buy a brand new vehicle and you want to set it up even for whatever you want to do, look, let's be honest, it's got to look right. You know, flatbed, square, steel, box trays, they just don't look right. Don't get me wrong, there's many good trays out there on the market, and a lot of good Australian ones here in the United States now as well. But I think for us it's a little bit different because we try and design the functionality, obviously the ease of use, the purpose of the bed to suit the aesthetics of the truck that we're fitting it to. Now, getting back to it, we couldn't get any CAD on this vehicle before we sent this bed over, so we took a massive gamble, and there were a slight few modifications that had to be made, but pretty much the bed fit. So the body line at the back is very similar to the PX2, which was great for us. You've got LED lights in the side, you can see up here, these are from X-ray or Echo lights back in Australia. All aluminum construction. You've got drop down sides as well. I'll drop a side down for you. You've got concealed hitches with anti-vibration clips in the back, like all the PCOR beds. And then in here, you can see we've been running all of our luggage. I just took out the back to shoot this. We've got aircraft tracking on the side, tie down points, so these are all adjustable. You can move them to wherever you like. Like I said, it's all aluminum construction. This bed here in particular would weigh 220 kilos. So you're talking 460 pounds, times it by 2.2. And that's where you're sitting with these beds. So they're very similar to the factory weight. GVMs are a big issue back in Australia, gross vehicle mass, so what you're actually loading your vehicles with. That's why we go with aluminum. Over here in the US, it's not really a big deal. I see 1 ton trucks. And that was actually another thing while I think about it. These are rated to, payload is 1,050 kilos in Australia on a dual cab XLT Ranger. And I don't think I've mentioned that yet. This is actually the XLT model. We'll talk about that when we get inside. And in the US, they're 1,800 pounds. So they're a little bit lighter on the load rating. I'm not sure the reason for that. So that will equate to, call it 900 kilos, maybe a little bit less. And again, I'm not really sure the reason for it. PCOR wheels at the back. You've got your toolboxes. Obviously in the side, I've got a TJM compressor there. These are all sealed. Another massive big feature of all the PCOR systems is their central locking. So when we send the beds out, or you get them fitted by your distributor, and obviously they're now available in the United States, the Ranger bed is available, it's here. We have some inventory here at the moment, as well as 2500 Ram. We have Tundra available right now. We have Jeep Gladiator available right now, if you've been following that. What else do we have? We're working on the Tacoma, guys, and we have 1500 Ram also. By the time this comes out, hopefully the Tacoma will be ready to go. Central locking, push the button, everything locks. So your side toolboxes and obviously your rear drawer as well. So big rear drawer there, and this is all on central locking. You got all your backup sensors, your factory camera is all integrated. If we get down low underneath here, you can see the departure angle of the toolboxes. So again, aesthetically, the boxes, they look right. But there is a really good reason for this. The hitch on this hangs extremely low. Literally out in Moab, I touched the back of that hitch. I don't think it would have been any more than 6 times, which surprised me. I thought we were going to be bottoming out over everything, but we did not touch the toolbox. We come down on some of those angles off some of those step downs on the slick rock, and obviously you can see underneath here there's not a mark on it. So that departure angle, this angle at the back, serves a purpose. You can see underneath the back here that it's riding on standard springs, like I said. But Matty actually, and Matt's our US distributor, he told me something yesterday which I didn't know. These things come stock with a Dana 44 in the back. Now the XLT model, and I think from the XLT up, XLT and Laramie, you can option in a rear locker. This one's got the rear locker optioned in, and I think the rear locker was the reason that we got around the way we got around out at Moab. Had we have not have optioned in the rear locker, the factory rear locker, I don't think we would have gone as far as we did. This X2 here, this is the one that we brought over when we launched Patriot campers into the United States. My brother towed this X2 all the way around Moab. We done Hell's Revenge with 3 trailers, and this is one of the trailers that went over Hell's Revenge. We were told they were the first trailers to be towed down that track. I don't know whether that's actual fact or not. I like to think that we were, obviously. But I suppose this trailer's got a little bit of a sentimental place for us as well. I don't know what's going to be the outcome for it. It's going back into Oklahoma now. We're going to give it a good clean up. You can see it's got the general tyres on it and the Icon wheels from Expedition Overland. A few scratches down the side, which is how I love to see them. A few scratches on the back as well. It's got an easy on turn on, but that's coming back off. That's going back to clay, and we'll put the James Baroud back on it. Now the X2 with the James Baroud coupled to something dual cab like the Ranger with a flatbed, for me, for 2 people, is the ultimate touring setup. That's the way to roll. It just makes everything really easy. So let's go back around this side. You can see underneath here, I've got a water tap underneath here and a little switch under there. The tank's actually empty. You can hear the pump running. I emptied that out yesterday. We've got a 16 gallon, 70 litres. I think it's 16 gallon, might be 18 gallon. Poly water tank up underneath the bed as well with a pressurised water pump, which I'll show you right now. Again, handy for everything. I mean, you can tub the car with this if you want to, but for me, it's kind of, you're always dirty when you're out touring. Just having somewhere external just to wash your hands, that's enough to have a water tank for me, but obviously for everything else. In this side here, another toolbox. You can see down in here is the water pump, and that water pump's a shore flow pump. It's got a filter on it there as well. Central locking in this toolbox on the side also. Twin spare wheel holders, these are an option. So we use the Rhino cones, but we've got a manufactured sheet metal bracket up the back there and 2 33s on the back. 2 spares. I'm kind of going away from carrying 2 spares these days, to be honest with you. I think the technology in tyres and Mickey Thompson's, Generals, you know, any of your good branded tyres, I am really kind of starting to go away from carrying 2 spares. But look, let's be honest, 2 spares on the back, it makes you look a little bit more legit, I suppose. We had the wheels over here, so we put them on the back. That's about it for the outside of the car, I think. I'm pretty sure I've covered the whole lot. Let's jump into the interior and I'll run you through the inside of this truck. In the interior of the Ranger, like I said, we've done 5,000 miles, and I think that's enough to really get a good feel for what the vehicle's like. This is really comfortable in here. It's definitely no 200 series. It's definitely no 2500 Ram. Actually, a long way away from a 2500 Ram, but it's got everything in it that you need. It's got Apple Play connected, and if you're traveling, especially you're in a different country, having your Apple Play connected makes life so much easier, because obviously you use your nav and everything. You've got all touchscreen, so climate control. I can't actually remember the XLT. I've had a mind block what the dash looked like in the one that we had back in Australia. Obviously we've sold that car now, but I'm sure it didn't have all these sorts of features. A really handy feature that this one has on the dash as well, and all United States cars, I'm told now, that are sold into here, it's got tyre pressure monitoring on the 4 wheels. When you're airing up and airing down, that's awesome, especially if you're using a compressor that doesn't have a gauge on it, which majority of them don't, or the gauges break or whatever. You can see what's going on, but it's got all the standard stuff that you'd expect it to have. Obviously your trip computer's in there. It's got another really good off-road function out there, which was really cool. We kept looking at it. So it's got your elevation in there, and it's got your car angles as well. So your front and rear and left to right angles. So when you're out of Moab, it's pretty cool. You'd have a bit of a game with yourself as to what angles you kind of getting the vehicle onto. Obviously your phone connection, all the rest of it. The only modification that we've made is Midland UHF. I'm not really familiar with this brand of UHF, but obviously our ones here in the United States won't work, the ones from Australia. Back of the interior is your standard sort of dual cab size. I'm not very sure, I'm not too familiar with the Tacoma, but I would assume it'd be very similar. It looks very similar sort of size back there to a 79, maybe even a little bit more legroom. We might do my trademark, I suppose, it's been called now, which is, I'll jump in the back and show you through it. And just the last thing that I'll talk about is the Red Arc brake controller, which is a must. And even if, guys, if you haven't experienced a Red Arc Tow Pro brake controller, using factory brake controllers, even like the one you get in the 2500 Ram, once you go to a Tow Pro, again, you'll never look back. They're so intuitive, but watch the videos on that. So let's jump in the back and I'll show you the back seat. All right, get in the back seat. That's my driving position there. So that's where I normally drive. So you can see in the back here, like I said, it's probably very, very similar to a 79. I might pull this down so I get a little bit more comfortable. You've got a little inverter in the back here as well, which is really handy. 110 volt inverter, and we've been charging our gear off that, and a couple more USBs in the back. That's a good thing to have. A couple of young kids would be quite comfortable in this, but once again, I refer everything back to touring with a family of 5, jamming 3 teenagers in the back of here. I think Christian, Ash and Mia are probably at that age now where this wouldn't be the comfiest for them. Backseat of a 200 series, a 2500 or a 1500 Ram would probably be a lot more comfortable place for them. So that's about it on the back seat, and really not much more to talk about in the interior. Another really cool feature, which I've only seen in the Rams back home, is that rear window. I think that's really cool. If you're carrying pets around, you've got dogs and that on the back, I think they'll feel a lot more part of the family. That's about it for the interior. We haven't done any other mods to it. It's really your standard sort of dual cab interior. There's a quick walk around our new PX3 Ranger here in the United States. Now I'm going to answer the question I know everybody's asking: why did we build a PX3 Ranger? Well, look, it was going to be the next logical step for us. The PX2 is extremely popular back in Australia. I think this thing's going to be popular over here, but we wanted to ensure fitment of the PCOR tray. We wanted to ensure ECUs for the dealers, and we wanted to make sure that everything works. Like everything that we do, we try and test a whole lot of it before we release it to the market. And after the time I've just spent with it, I'm more than comfortable in releasing this into the United States now. So the PCOR beds are now available. Visit PCOR4x4.com for more information and find your local distributor. Now, I've got the next project in mind. I found about a week ago what I want to build next. So this vehicle is actually for sale. We might even do a package deal with the trailer for the right person as a used vehicle. Again, contact us direct if you're interested in buying this truck. But hopefully by the time this video goes to YouTube, that'll be sold. PX3 Ranger, guys, sincerely, I'm really impressed with it. And I'm not just saying that. It's not the vehicle that I would buy if I had the choice out of anything here in the United States. But I can tell you what, if I had 40 grand to spend, which is what these base vehicles are worth here in the United States, I think for $40,000 you get a lot of truck. You know, you get a rear locked, great engine, great package. It's proved in Australia that 10-speed auto is absolutely amazing. That's one thing that I really love about it. So check out the PX3 Ranger if you're looking for a new overlanding or touring vehicle here in the United States. And don't forget the PCOR systems are now available here in the USA.